Welcome to Spirit of America, DMV Celebrates. I'm Haley Mylon, and the U.S. is marking its 250th anniversary, so we've put together some of our very best, most exciting stories that highlight the people, communities, and the places in our area that make our country's history so remarkable. We're going to start off by talking about monuments and memorials. They're kind of the first thing that you see when you get to the district, and we are expecting millions of people to visit them for America's 250th. But one family has been at work for generations, 3 of them to be exact, chiseling themselves into the history of our country. Our Ben Dennis is telling us how the family paved the way.
Tourists visiting Washington are an all too familiar sight. From monuments and memorials honoring thousands who gave their lives, to headstones marking the memory of a single soul, the words carved into stone often trace back to a small shop in Newport, Rhode Island. A shop that's been open longer than the United States itself.
The John Stevens Shop, which was founded in 1705.
Nicholas Benson learned craftsmanship from his father, who learned from his. 3 generations of calligraphy mark the legacies of leaders, triumphs, and tragedies on the battlefield.
But I came to work for my dad when I was 15 years old.
Many of America's defining moments across 250 years have been made permanent by the Benson family.
Because my grandfather and my father established such a great presence in Washington, D.C., it wasn't much of a reach for me to then be the next person who's involved with any given large civic memorial. World War II Memorial, Martin Luther King Memorial, the Eisenhower Memorial, all of these jobs really came from the lineage of my predecessors.
Yep, a Benson carved immortal words from FDR about America's place in the world, helped honor the heroism of Marines who died in service since 1775, and the veterans of Vietnam, displayed JFK's gravesite, and permanently etched powerful poetry from Martin Luther King Jr. But before a single letter is carved, it's drawn, outlined, measured, refined. Carving comes later, each strike deliberate and permanent.
One of the very first questions we're asked whenever we're out on site carving is what happens when you make a mistake? And really, the skill of carving is learning how not to make a mistake.
For Benson, the job doesn't always feel historic in the moment, but sometimes it hits.
On the Martin Luther King Memorial, there were points at which, when I was in the midst of carving, paying very close attention to my depth of cut, how the characters were lining up, all of these things in very small practical perspectives, when you step back and all of a sudden you have a minute to read what you're carving, it hits like a sledgehammer.
And while most of us are reading words from our phones that disappear with a simple swipe, similar words are designed here in Washington to last, from dusk to dawn, for days, years, and generations.
AI is making inroads into the way in which humanity perceives the physical world, and that's a very, very complicated thing. And so for us to be on a big civic memorial like this and carving stone by hand means an awful lot to humanity.
As America reflects on 250 years, millions will come here, searching for meaning in the past and direction for the future.
It's a complicated time in American history, and so people visiting Washington, D.C. for the 250th anniversary, I think that there'll be an awful lot of mixed emotion in that for many, many people. And hopefully, because, as I said, some of these words are so inspiring, and they do point to direction forward, ideally, they're well worth considering at such an incredibly important anniversary of our nation.
In Washington, Ben Dennis, DC News Now.
Incredible skill and what challenging work. There is no question that DC is packed with iconic monuments and museums. You're flooded with them the minute you come to the DMV. There are so many historic gems, though, that you don't really see as prominently, and they still have a huge role in our community today. Just steps away from the most famous address in the world, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Northwest DC, is actually a hotel that is dubbed the Residence of Presidents, and our own Chris Flanagan shows us front row what it offers in terms of views and history over more than 200 years here in the U.S.
Walking into the Willard Intercontinental is like taking a step back into history. Situated on Pennsylvania Avenue, just 1 block from the White House, every U.S. president since the 1850s has either visited or stayed at the Willard.
You will see major, powerful people, not only within D.C., but all over the world, that are meeting here, whether they're prime ministers, they're presidents, they're finance ministers, that are meeting here every single day.
The most high-profile guest, Abraham Lincoln. He stayed for 2 weeks prior to his inauguration in 1861, and upon checkout, famously didn't have the $773 to cover his bill. This is a copy of it on display in the hotel. But Lincoln promised, once sworn in, he'd come back and square up.
Well, the locals got wind about this deed that he did in paying his folio in full with his first paycheck as president. Hence, he got the nickname Honest Abe by the locals hearing wind that that's what he did here at the Willard.
A few years later, it's believed one of the most well-known political terms became popular right here at the Willard. Legend has it, President Ulysses S. Grant's wife wouldn't let him smoke in the White House, so he'd enjoy cigars and bourbon at the hotel.
The locals would come and they would position themselves within close proximity, and when he would get up to get another drink or go to the men's room, they would pitch their ideas. Mr. President, I have this idea. Hence the term lobbyist was coined here in the lobby at the Willard.
Nearly 100 years later, some of the most famous words ever spoken were written in the very same lobby.
I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
In 1963, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. made final edits to his historic I Have a Dream speech, mere hours before delivering his legendary address on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. Just off the lobby sits the iconic Round Robin Bar, nicknamed the Oval Office of Bars because it's been a stomping ground for Washington's political and social elite for nearly 2 centuries. The portraits lining the walls show a who's who of Americana.
History, when you walk in, you're going to feel the vibe and the energy of some really great things that happen.
Including Buffalo Bill, Charles Dickens, Walt Whitman, and the man widely regarded as one of the greatest and most influential American writers.
Mark Twain was a very frequent patron of the Round Robin Bar, and they would actually do a lot of their writing and a lot of the tables right around the bar, in this bar here as well. So a lot of history and significance from that perspective as well.
As you walk out of the Willard, you will likely leave with a deeper appreciation of American history. In Washington, Chris Flanagan, DC News Now.
Now, there's no doubt that neighborhoods are the backbones of our communities across the U.S., and their uniqueness, it allows culture and community to flourish. Now, in D.C., Georgetown is one of those neighborhoods, but what you might not realize is that Georgetown predates the district itself. Marielle Carbone is bringing us the story of the generations of families who helped build it.
This is my grandparents, and this was from their 50th anniversary.
Neville Waters' family's heritage in Georgetown is one for the history books.
My family has a deep legacy with the neighborhood in particular, and I'm very proud of that fact. This was the home that I was saying was my great-grandfather's.
His roots go back 5 generations. The home on P Street where he lives has been in the family for nearly 100 years.
This is the actual deed on the 9th of February in 1927, and the sum of $3,600.
And it doesn't stop there.
I had a great-great-grandfather who was born into slavery and freed as a 6-year-old, eventually lived well into his 80s, worked for the federal government, became known as the mayor of Black Georgetown. That's a really, truly part of American history.
Georgetown, founded in 1751, predates the district by 40 years. Originally a part of Maryland, it was developed as a tobacco port town and played a major role in the slave trade. In 1871, it was absorbed into D.C., laying the foundation for generations of people like Waters to plant roots.
But it is something, again, in many ways that there is a pride in being able to be in an area that really was the foundation for the city and beyond. The roots were planted here and have continued to flourish.
The neighborhood is filled with stories like this, a family's legacy intertwined into DC history.
The store has been here 3 generations, and my grandparents started it in 1955.
Samantha Gushner owns the Phoenix, a boutique originally inspired by her grandparents' travels to Mexico, and now selling curated clothing, jewelry, and home goods. It's been around for more than 70 years.
You can't talk about Georgetown without talking about the character of the historic nature of it. Georgetown, I feel, has gone through so many iterations of ebbs and flows.
And one block down Wisconsin Avenue.
I'm the 4th generation owner of Martin's Tavern.
Martin's Tavern stands as the oldest family-owned restaurant in D.C., opening in 1933, just as Prohibition came to an end.
And, you know, Georgetown back then was a different town. You know, it was a whole different era. So everybody would come down off Capitol Hill, wanted to come to Martin's.
From its earliest days, the neighborhood developed a reputation as a place for influential people. Pierre L'Enfant and others designing the blueprint for D.C. in Georgetown. And it has stayed that way, with big names coming to Martin's Tavern for a bite to eat, debate, and even draft legislation. The booths now marked with the names of the presidents who sat there.
And of course, the biggest one is the proposal booth where JFK proposed to Jackie, and people love that.
How do you keep some of that still alive to make people want to still come here?
You know, you stick to tradition, you stick to your roots. I feel we're like an anchor here. Georgetown has gone through many changes over the years. We've weathered the storm, but we also try to set, you know, a precedent for people to realize that you can be here, you can make it through hard times, through great times, through all the time.
Enduring through history, the neighborhood and those who have helped shape it hope to keep going for generations to come.
It's all about now. You know, we don't know what's going to be tomorrow. The past is the past. It's about now.
In Georgetown, I'm Marielle Carbone, DC News Now.
Very cool stuff. I know we don't do monarchy here in the United States of America, but here in the district, those families are about as close as you will get. Talk about some roots. All right, switching gears now, our waterways played a huge role in building the U.S. economy over the past 250 years. And in fact, the C&O Canal helped jumpstart the economy in the 1800s. Our Tosin Fakile takes us back in time to where it all began with the Industrial Connector.
The Chesapeake and Ohio Canal, C&O Canal for short, is a popular spot many Americans visit today. Before it was a place for leisurely enjoyment, the canal moved America's economy along.
So tell us a story.
Absolutely. The C&O Canal is part of the reason that our nation changed from an agricultural, rural nation to this big industrial nation that we know today. We were part of the first transportation revolution that happened in the United States. Originally, the plan was to go from DC over the mountains up in the Cumberland area and into the Ohio River Valley.
This historical body of water is more than just DC history.
The lumber transported on the canal and the stones transported on the canal were used to build the buildings that you see on the National Mall and in DC.
It's America's history.
Farms start to use canals to transport goods into the city, so they become more profitable, and you see a farming boom happening.
And you can't talk about the DMV's historic canal without one of America's founding fathers.
It starts with George Washington and some of his friends and continues on into Charles Mercer and some of the other big founding fathers as they build the C&O Canal.
About 185 miles make up the C&O Canal.
Tell me how long it took to build the canal.
Yes, the canal, they started building it in 1828 and they finished it in 1850, so about 20 years. It was a real big labor of love.
And those who labored on the canal sometimes called it home, literally. We're talking about the lock houses.
A boat could be coming any time of day or night, and they had to be ready, so having a house that was right there was really critical for being able to provide that operation. There are 7 historic lock houses that have been rehabilitated and offer overnight stays for visitors to the park.
These lock houses, talk to us about like what people see and feel.
Each of them tells a different story of the canal's history, and each has been interpreted to evoke a specific period of time. for the canal.
What helped jumpstart America's economy back in the 17 and 1800s is still churning the economy. The National Park Service says the C&O Historical Park is the 14th most visited national park site. The canal, dewatered in the winter, is now starting to fill up.
We have those same historic walls that we are maintaining and protecting for the past 200 years. We have about 80 miles of the canal that get rewatered every year. This is one of them here at Great Falls.
MPS is ready to let the good times flow for the summer and America's 250th birthday.
We're a key part of that story. We're preserving it for everybody to come and experience it.
For DC News Now, I'm Tosin Fakile.
C&O Canal, obviously running parallel to the Potomac River, which was home to an emergency shipbuilding effort during World War I. The project helped reshape America's industrial future, even though a lot of the ships that were built there never actually left and saw any action. Now, what's left of them sits in Mallows Bay, and history, nature, and reflection, that is where they meet on the water. Our Ben Dennis is taking us to the Ghost Fleet.
Just beneath the surface of the Potomac River sits the remains of a forgotten wartime gamble, more than a century old. More than 100 wooden steamships built during World War I now rest at Mallows Bay. Today, bald eagles soar overhead, osprey nest atop the wrecks, and kayakers quietly weave through what many now call the Ghost Fleet.
These ships are now thriving ecosystems, islands of life.
Elena Gilroy helps preserve the site.
Nature has really done a great job of reclaiming her space.
But the ships were never meant to stay here.
Anywhere that could build a ship was building a ship.
During World War I, the federal government launched a massive emergency shipbuilding effort after the U.S. realized how dependent we had become on foreign ships to move goods overseas. Maritime historian Sal Mercogliano says global shipping disruptions and German sub-warfare forced the country to ramp up production, and fast.
The U.S. found itself in a position where it couldn't move its goods.
The U.S. built more than 300 ships across 26 states, including more than 100 that would later end up here in Mallows Bay. But by the time many of these ships were completed, America won the war, along with the Allied powers. Many never fulfilled the purpose they were built for. Some briefly worked coastal trade routes, but eventually the unwanted fleet was gathered in Virginia's James River before being moved upstream to Widewater, south of Quantico.
Some of the ships were breaking loose from their mooring and going across the shipping channels.
Eventually, many were brought across the Potomac to Mallows Bay, where companies stripped valuable metal from the steamships and burned what remained. During the Great Depression, locals scavenged scrap from the wrecks to survive.
About 15% of the income of the county was locals salvaging metal.
250 years into this nation's history, what was built out of necessity during World War I is a reminder that not every chapter is a triumph, but all of them leave a mark. Over time, nature transformed what many once viewed as industrial waste into something entirely different. Trees now grow from the wreckage, beavers build lodges on top of the ships, and visitors now paddle quietly through the remains.
A lot of people leave here having really found a peaceful connection with nature.
During Hurricane Isabel in 2003, the storm surge lifted one 300-foot ship and dropped it directly on top of another, reshaping part of this fleet. But not every vessel here dates back to World War I. The Accomack, once a Chesapeake Bay ferry carrying passengers and vehicles across the water, was later brought here after a fire, becoming the newest ship in the fleet.
It was originally the Virginia Lee. It was a World War II troop carrier.
As the nation approaches 250 years of history, Mallows Bay stands as a reminder that even America's unfinished chapters help shape what came next.
I think that everybody can find their connection to this place if they take the time to explore it.
In Charles County, Maryland, I'm Ben Dennis.
And as America celebrates 250 years, an institution here in the DMV is celebrating its own milestone. We all know it, Metro. Now, it's been 50 years since Metro first ran its trains on tracks here in the DMV. Our Max Marcilla is taking a look at the promises made back then, 50 years ago, and the ones that have come through as the system has grown alongside the country.
As much as some things change, some remain the same. The same sounds of a Red Line metro train have been heard for 50 years, by the first passengers in 1976
It's cool.
to the modern-day regulars.
I take it to class up at AU every day.
The story of Metro starts with digging, building, and a grand opening of 5 Red Line stations in 1976. Then blue, orange, yellow, green, before finally completing the 103-mile system with 83 stations in 2001. The work didn't stop there.
This is, I think, a huge game changer.
The Silver Line, expanding in 2022 to reach Dulles.
Love that it goes out to Dulles Airport because I travel a lot and I can get out there on my own.
Okay, that is a lot of change.
We look good for 50.
It has been 50 years after all.
The metro system has really transformed the DMV.
Randy Clark took over as WMATA's GM and CEO in July 2022. Now, looking back at his 4 years and the 46 previous, Clark tells us America's story. The DMV's story is also a metro story.
The museums, the monuments, people come to visit the representatives on the Hill. Metro is part of all those experiences, and I don't think you can really separate the American experience without really appreciating Metro's contribution to that.
When Metro first opened in 1976, just in time for the bicentennial, Washington, D.C. itself was not in great shape.
George Mason history professor Zach Schrag is the author of The Great Society Subway, a history of the Washington Metro.
There had been depopulation, a lot of investment going out into the suburbs, and so part of the effort of building Metro was to bring investment and people back into the district.
Schrag says by many metrics that goal has been achieved. DC's population has rebounded, and so have investments.
The most dramatic case is probably the Capital One Arena, the basketball and hockey arena that was built with tens of thousands of seats, something like 20,000 seats, and has basically no parking for fans.
Stadiums, current and future, are anchored around metro stops. Neighborhoods from Clarendon to Bethesda, Noma to Navy Yard have changed too.
Where Metro has gone, or goes, is where the community grows.
The growth is not without challenges.
The fatal flaw of Metro has always been there's been really no permanent, dedicated, predictable funding.
Clark is pushing for a new plan called DMV Moves, a $460 million annual investment that will increase each year. With that money, critical improvements to a signaling system as old as the stations.
At this point at 50, Metro is definitely feeling its age. Certainly, again, it's had its maintenance issues. You build a tunnel, you build a station, and those don't last forever.
But as Clark looks back at 50, he's also looking ahead. A vision of connecting Metro with the Purple Line in Maryland, and Gold Line bus transit system for the new Commander Stadium, and new 8000 series trains.
I don't want to be this guy that can predict 50 years because it's almost too far. But the level of autonomy is going to be very dramatic. I don't think in 50 years almost anyone will buy a personal vehicle, maybe in very rural America. But in urban transportation, you're going to have a much more multimodal, a lot more people on bikes, a lot better transit, roads that are very supportive of bus, but a lot of robo-taxi complementing.
For DC News Now, I'm Max Marcilla.
And part of the spirit of America is looking forward. You heard General Manager Randy Clark say that that's a part of the Metro spirit. Well, it's the same thing in education. Throughout America's history, education has played a role as places for ideas and celebrations of possibility for future generations. But here in DC, one school is serving as a trailblazer. I am taking you inside one elementary school where students can see a brighter, cleaner future, not only for themselves, but for their community.
From quaint one-room schoolhouses to sprawling campuses fostering the world's sharpest minds, for generations, the American schoolhouse stood as a promise to strive for a better tomorrow. The District of Columbia is reimagining that promise.
It's about the health and the well-being of the occupants.
The John Lewis Elementary School is a revolution, built on the site of a 1960s school and named for the civil rights leader known for championing American ideals through respectful defiance. A cutting-edge, self-sustaining building serving not just the children of this Northwest DC neighborhood, but providing energy to their homes. the first school in the world to be triple certified for net zero energy. Alex Casey, a project manager for the district's Department of General Services, explains that the innovation starts on the roof.
The solar panels cover the entire roof of the school and provide more power than the building consumes.
Then excess clean energy is distributed to the neighborhood.
Our utility bills for a school are by far the biggest ongoing expense for the campus. So for here, that number is 0.
Inside the school building, high-efficiency ventilation, cooling, and heating systems reduce the amount of energy that's needed in the first place. But then outside, surrounding the building, there are bioponds that collect and filter stormwater before it even reaches the city's sewer system. Sensors automatically adjust lighting and temperature based on need, while advanced air filtration systems continuously circulate fresh air through the classrooms. Large windows maximize natural daylight. Energy-efficient glass helps regulate indoor temperatures. An ecosystem aiming to maximize comfort and focus for learners.
Better air quality, better acoustics, all adds up to healthier students, better attendance rates, and a better school for the neighborhood.
I feel like this is a good school because we have a bunch of computers. We can see everything visually.
The schoolhouse designed not only to educate children,
trees make air and oxygen,
but to invest in the world they will inherit. The building itself is perhaps as defiant as its namesake, bucking a future that's colored by fear and scarcity, instead building towards growth, improvement, and innovation to honor America's age-old schoolhouse promise to generations to come. That concludes our America 250 DMV Celebrates special. For more stories like this, just go to our website, dcnewsnow.com/Spirit of America. There is countless information about our history there. It's good stuff. You don't want to miss it. For all of us here at DC News Now, I'm Haley Mylon. Thanks so much for watching.